I switched the plates. That's what saved my life. 3 simple words that my daughter-in-law would whisper to me later in the hospital, tears streaming down her face. But let me back up, because what happened at my dinner table that Tuesday evening, it wasn't just about poison. It was about greed, jealousy, and how a lie can turn a family member into a monster. My name is Margaret, and I'm 72 years old. I've lived a good life. Not perfect but honest. I raised 2 wonderful children, built a successful business with my late husband Robert, and when he passed 5 years ago, I thought the hardest part of my life was behind me. I was wrong. Before I tell you what happened next, don't forget to subscribe if you love true stories like this, and tell me in the comments, what would you have done if this happened to you? Let me introduce you to my family. My son, David, married a woman named Jessica about 8 years ago. Jessica is, well, she's kind, hardworking. She reminds me of myself when I was younger, always putting others first, always trying to keep the peace. They have 2 beautiful children, Emma and Lucas, my precious grandchildren. Then there's my daughter, Rachel. She married Thomas 3 years ago. Thomas was different from the start. He was charming, I'll give him that. Smooth talker. Always knew the right thing to say. But there was something behind his eyes, something calculating. Robert used to say, "Margaret, watch out for people who are too interested in what's in your wallet." I wish I'd listened more carefully. After Robert passed, I inherited everything. Our home, our savings, the business we'd built together. It wasn't millions, but it was comfortable. About $350,000 in assets, plus the family home valued at around $400,000. I loved all my children equally. I still do. And I'd planned to split everything down the middle when the time came. 50% to David and Jessica, 50% to Rachel and Thomas. Fair and square. That's how Robert and I had always done things. But then about 6 months ago, something changed. It started with small comments from Thomas at family gatherings. Little digs, you know. Like, "Oh Jessica, you're looking well. Must be nice having extra help around the house." Or, "David, did you refinance? I noticed you got a new car." At first, I didn't think much of it. But then the comments got more pointed. More bitter. One Sunday after church, Thomas pulled me aside. He had this tight smile on his face, the kind that doesn't reach the eyes. "Margaret, can I ask you something? I've been hearing things. Rumors, really. People are saying you've been giving David and Jessica money. Extra money. Is that true?" I was stunned. I told him, "Thomas, I don't know what you've heard, but it's not true. I haven't given anyone extra money." "Where did you hear this?" "Oh, you know how people talk. Rachel mentioned Jessica got a new car, David's been doing home renovations. Just seems like they're doing pretty well. Better than us, anyway." I looked him straight in the eye and said, "Thomas, if David and Jessica are doing well, it's because they work hard. Just like you and Rachel. I haven't played favorites, and I never will." But I could see it in his face. He didn't believe me. Or maybe he didn't want to believe me. Over the next few months, things got worse. Thomas started avoiding family dinners. When he did show up, he'd sit there silent, watching me with these cold eyes. Rachel noticed too. One afternoon, Rachel came over by herself. She looked exhausted, like she hadn't been sleeping. We sat in the kitchen, and she just broke down. "Mom, Thomas is obsessed. He keeps saying you've cut us out of the inheritance. He says you've given everything to David and Jessica. I keep telling him that's not true, but he won't listen. He's convinced you're playing favorites." "Rachel, honey, where is this coming from? Did I ever say or do anything to make him think that?" "No. That's what I keep telling him. But he heard it from someone, I don't know who, and now it's all he talks about. He checks our bank account every day. He's furious we don't have more money saved. He keeps saying, "Your brother's family is thriving while we're struggling, and your mom doesn't even care." My heart broke for her. I pulled out my will right there, showed her the papers. Everything was split 50-50, just like I'd always said. I even offered to sit down with Thomas and go over everything together. Rachel said she'd try to talk to him. But deep down I knew. Some people don't want the truth. They want their version of the truth. About 3 weeks before that Tuesday dinner, something happened that I didn't know about until later. Jessica told me everything afterward, and it still makes my blood run cold. Thomas had approached David at his office. Walked right in during David's lunch break. Jessica was there too. They'd been planning to grab lunch together. Thomas. "Hey man, what's up? Everything okay? Is it true? Did Margaret give you the house? The business money? I want to hear it from you, David." "What? Well, where did you get that idea? Mom hasn't given us anything except birthday gifts and Christmas money. Same as she gives you and Rachel." "Don't lie to me. I see the way you live. New car, home renovations, private school for the kids. You expect me to believe you're doing all that on a teacher's salary?" Jessica's voice, stepping in, calm but firm. "Thomas, we saved for years. We budget carefully. And yes, we both work full-time. Margaret has been more than fair with everyone." But according to Jessica, Thomas just stared at them. Then he said something that still haunts me. "Fair? You don't know what fair means. But you will. Everyone will." And then he left. 2 weeks later, Rachel called me. She sounded nervous, almost rehearsed. "Mom, Thomas wants to apologize. He's been under a lot of stress at work, and he knows he's been acting strange. Can we do a family dinner at your place this Tuesday? Just the 6 of us, you, me, Thomas, David, and Jessica. We can clear the air." I wanted to believe things could get better. I really did. So I said yes. Tuesday came. I made pot roast, Thomas's favorite. Mashed potatoes, green beans, fresh rolls. I set the table with my good china, the set Robert and I got for our wedding. David and Jessica arrived first, bringing flowers. Then Rachel and Thomas showed up. Thomas was quiet. Too quiet. He hugged me, said, "Thanks for having us, Margaret." But his eyes were empty. We sat down to eat. I served everyone their plates. Made sure everyone got a good portion. The conversation was strained, but it was happening. Rachel talked about her job. David shared a funny story about Lucas's soccer game. And then I noticed something. Thomas wasn't eating. He was just watching me. Watching my plate. Every time I lifted my fork, his eyes would follow. When I set it down, he'd glance away. But then his gaze would drift right back. I've been alive for 72 years. I've learned to trust my instincts. And every instinct in my body was screaming that something was wrong. I excused myself to get more water from the kitchen. My heart was pounding. I stood there by the sink, trying to calm down, telling myself I was being paranoid. But then I remembered Thomas's words to David. "You will. Everyone will." When I came back to the table, I did something I can't fully explain. It wasn't planned. It was pure survival instinct. I set my water glass down, and as I reached for my napkin, I switched my plate with Thomas's. Just slid them across. Mine to his spot. His to mine. Nobody noticed. They were all talking, distracted. I picked up my fork from Thomas's original plate and took a bite. Thomas's face went white. It happened fast. Thomas started eating from what he thought was his plate, but was actually mine. The plate I'd been supposed to eat from. About 4 minutes later, he stopped mid-sentence. His hand went to his throat. He started coughing. Not a normal cough, but a choking, gasping sound. Thomas, what's wrong?" He tried to stand up, but his legs gave out. He collapsed onto the floor, convulsing. Foam started coming from his mouth. "Call 911. David, call 911. Rachel was hysterical. David was on the phone with emergency services. Jessica ran to get water. And I just stood there, looking down at Thomas on my kitchen floor, and I knew what he'd done. The paramedics arrived within 6 minutes. They rushed Thomas to the hospital. We all followed in separate cars. Rachel was inconsolable. David and Jessica were in shock. I was numb. At the hospital, they pumped his stomach, ran tests, and that's when the doctors confirmed it. Mrs. Patterson, Mr. Harrison ingested a lethal dose of antifreeze mixed with a sedative. If he'd consumed the entire portion, he likely wouldn't have survived. As it is, he's in critical condition. Rachel fainted when she heard. When she came to, she kept saying, "No, no, no, there must be a mistake. Someone broke in. This can't be real." But David looked at me, really looked at me, and he said, "Mom, you switched the plates, didn't you?" I nodded. "Oh my God. Margaret, he tried to kill you. He tried to poison you." The police came. They questioned all of us. They went through my house. And they found it. Hidden in Thomas's coat pocket in the hall closet. A small bottle labeled, "Automotive Antifreeze." Half empty. And a prescription bottle of sleeping pills that weren't his. Thomas survived. Barely. He was in the hospital for 2 weeks. And when he finally woke up, with police officers in the room, he confessed everything. He said he'd heard from a neighbor, a gossipy woman who apparently saw David and Jessica coming to visit me often, that I'd signed over everything to them. The house, the money, all of it. It wasn't true, but Thomas believed it. Or maybe he just wanted to believe it. He said he felt cheated, that Rachel deserved more, that he deserved more. So he planned it, bought the antifreeze, crushed up the sleeping pills, mixed it into my pot roast before I served it. He'd volunteered to help carry dishes from the kitchen, remember? He knew exactly which plate was mine. He said he didn't think of it as murder. He called it correcting an injustice. Correcting an injustice. By killing his wife's mother. Over money he was never denied. Thomas was arrested and charged with attempted murder. He's serving 15 years in prison. Rachel filed for divorce. It broke her. But she's healing. Slowly. The worst part. I pulled out my will again after everything happened. Showed the whole family. Everything was exactly as I'd always said. 50-50, fair and equal. Thomas tried to kill me over money that was already going to come to him and Rachel. Greed is a poison all its own. It doesn't need a bottle or a prescription. It works slowly, quietly, until it destroys everything beautiful in its path. I'm still here. I'm still standing. And I made one change to my will. Thomas gets nothing. Not because of revenge, but because trust, once broken like that, can never be repaired. Rachel and her kids. They'll be taken care of. David and Jessica. Fair and equal, like it always should have been. I think about that Tuesday night often. About the moment I switched those plates. People say it was instinct. Maybe it was. Or maybe it was Robert watching over me, whispering, "Trust yourself, Margaret. Trust yourself." If this story moved you, like and subscribe for more stories about truth, betrayal, and redemption. And remember, family isn't about money. It's about love, trust, and honesty. The moment you lose sight of that, you've already lost everything. Thank you for listening. This is Margaret's story. And I'm grateful to still be here to tell it.